While Washington deadlocks over the debt ceiling debate, we thought we'd ask a corporate turnaround expert what fix he would recommend for an economy mired in lots and lots of debt. Al Koch is the vice chairman of AlixPartners, currently the CEO of the old GM, those parts of General Motors that are being liquidated and that didn't make it into the new car company. Koch, by the way, was also the former CFO of Kmart and Oxford Health Plans during their reorganization. So the perfect person to talk to. Al, great to have you here on Street Smart. What would be your advice to the United States government at this point and to all those lawmakers?
Well, you know, at the end of the day, whether it's a person, a municipality, a corporation, or the United States government, you know, ultimately you have to balance your revenue and expenses. So my advice would be to either reduce spending or increase revenue, or probably do both, and get us on a trajectory where we're not going to get ourselves in the position that where our debt as a percentage of gross national product makes us an unattractive credit for countries like China to own our debt.
You say probably do both, meaning raise taxes and cut spending. You say probably, but isn't that at this point, if we look at the numbers, and we talk to some folks who say it's a much bigger number than we're even thinking about, if we look down the road and the implications of some of those entitlement programs and what it will mean, no doubt about it, don't we need to do both? We have to raise taxes, we have to cut spending.
I think at the end of the day, that's probably going to be required, yes.
Do you think we'll see our politicians step up to the plate and actually do that, based on what you've seen over the last few weeks here?
Well, I don't think it's going to happen in the short term, and you know, hopefully the lawmakers will find a solution that everyone can agree is a reasonable compromise that gets us back on a track where we're not incurring debt at an uncontrollable pace.
Al, where do you start? I mean, if you're looking at a company that doesn't have enough income to pay its debts, where do you start deciding what to pay and what not?
Well, when we initially go into a company, you need to triage and find out how much money you have and how long it's going to last, and that basically dictates the short-term restructuring action of who gets paid. Ideally, everybody gets paid, and you're able to reduce future commitments so that you don't run out of cash. But depending on the situation, it may not be possible to pay everyone, and you need to prioritize and pay those that you can pay and work with those that you can't.
Al, I mean, safe to say that we're in a crisis situation at this point. I mean, we keep saying we've kicked the can down the road, several times, and it feels like we could possibly do that again. I mean, it's kind of remarkable if we go back to the Clinton years that we were actually talking about a surplus. I mean, look what's happened. But I mean, do you think, this is a crisis situation unlike any that we've seen before when it comes to the U.S. government's fiscal situation?
Well, it's certainly a political crisis at this point because the debt ceiling needs to be raised. Nothing good is going to happen if the country defaults. And I think it would be far better to do what needs to be done from the standpoint of spending controls or revenue increase, and to do that in an environment that is not surrounded by the event of a default.
I'm sorry, Matt, please.
Well, no, I'm just wondering because, you know, if we have a default, I mean, that's terribly unlikely considering how much we pay on interest and how much we take in. But a downgrade is more likely. And, of course, a downgrade of U.S. debt makes all other debt that's based off of that more expensive. So, for example, a private equity company, which is highly leveraged, business gets so much more expensive for them. Which industries are hit the hardest?
Well, I think initially it's difficult to say what, if anything, will happen to short-term interest rates. To the extent that people aren't willing to buy debt of the government, then the interest rate will need to increase in order to attract borrowers or lenders. And so the companies that will be hit the worst are those who have debt whose interest rate is tied to either LIBOR or prime rate, and they would suffer an increase in interest rate. And so I think it's reasonable to say that if the cost of borrowing for the U.S. government goes up, that everyone's cost of borrowing is going to go up.
We're going to leave it there. Al, thank you so much. Al Koch, he is the Vice Chairman and Managing Director in the Turnaround and Restructuring Practice over at AlixPartners, joining us from D.C. Al, thank you so much.